Looking for the best budget action camera? You've found the right buying guide. From entry-level models to former flagships that are now more affordable, we've tested all of the best budget action cameras. So, whether you want a rugged record for capturing your adventurous pursuits or a simple pocket camera that can go anywhere with you, you'll find your ideal cheap action camera here. Like the video? Comment and don't forget to subscribe. Now let's get started. Number 5. Akaso V50 X. If there's one word to sum up the Akaso V50 X, it's soft. Its 4K video is less sharp than the cheaper Akaso EK7000s, and that's a camera we recommend using at 2.7K or 1080p because 4K doesn't bring much benefit. Whether Akaso used the wrong lens, wrong sensor, or the wrong processing, something is not quite right in the Akaso V50 X. It's a shame because the camera has a responsive, fairly pretty UI with more gloss than another model at the price. Stabilization is also among the best in its class, able to make walking speed motion look very smooth. We did wonder if electronic image stabilization caused image quality degradation, but turning it off had no effect on clarity. This isn't the best overall option you can buy at this price, but it's not without its merits. For example, the Akaso V50 X works perfectly well as a webcam. Just plug it in and select PC camera. It works fine on Macs too. There's also a threaded input for a tripod or other mount right on the camera, and it even supports an external microphone over micro USB. The internal one is decent too, with clarity just a level below the Akaso Brave 7 LE. Some of the Akaso V50 X's elements are dead on, but the video quality isn't quite there. Number 4. Campark X30 Xtreme V. The Campark X30 Xtreme V is a mid-priced budget camera. It costs more than the ultra-cheap models, but dips below the Apeman A100, and for some people, it may be the sweet spot. For example, the reassuringly solid X30 Xtreme V feels has a built-in tripod thread. You can mount it without any accessories at all, although the exposed ports mean that's probably a bad idea unless you're shooting indoors or on a sunny day. Its microphone quality is solid too. Voices sound louder and clearer than any of the ultra-cheap cameras, second only to the Akaso Brave 7 LE. The X30 Xtreme V has a touchscreen and a decent interface, which is very similar to that of the Apeman A100 and Baas V50 above. However, we encountered more basic problems here than with the other cheap action cameras. Try to change the field of view or switch electronic image stabilization (EIS) on and off, and the Campark often just won't play ball. Make these tweaks and the preview image and resulting video just stay as they were before. This also doesn't appear to be a true 4K camera in most modes, as footage recorded using the 4K 30p and 4K 60p modes is 3200 x 1800 resolution, not 3840 x 2160. The 4K 60p mode, which would otherwise be standard setting, also uses a restrictive crop that further reduces captured detail. It looks more like 1080p. Overall, the experience of using the Campark X30 Xtreme V is a little too inconsistent for our liking, even if it can produce solid 4K video at 30 frames per second. Number 3. Akaso has changed the cheap action camera game with the Brave 7 LE. This is a cheap action camera with most of the features of a top-end model. These include dual displays, one on back and another up front, and weather sealing. Rubber bungs over the two ports provide IPX7 water resistance without a case. It's all you need unless you want to start snorkeling with your action camera. A diving style case with 40 minutes waterproofing is included too. The Brave 7 LE also feels more high-end than any other camera we've seen around this price. A lot of this comes down to weight. At 127 Juri, it's twice as heavy as the action cameras that seem like empty boxes when you pick them up. The plastics used are of higher quality too. Creating a good first impression is one thing, but Akaso has put more effort into other areas too. The Akaso Brave LE7's audio quality is better than any other non-GoPro tested here when used in a quiet environment. The quality of the mic is good. As it uses a single mic, it's highly susceptible to wind noise, but there is a basic wind noise reduction mode that helps a bit. Still, there's only so much you can do with a single mic array. The camera also supports use as a webcam, but we couldn't get it to work with our test MacBook or Windows 10 laptops. You may have better luck. Number 2. Akaso EK7000. The Akaso EK7000 looks an awful lot like the Dragon Touch Vision 4 Lite. See below. It has the same diamond pattern sides and an all-button interface, and those buttons sit in exactly the same spots. It has also fewer features, no stabilization, and a slightly worse screen. But we liked it more, and it's a decent buy if your budget is very tight. There are two main reasons for this. The Akaso EK7000's interface isn't a headache to use. While there's a carousel of menu items to flick through anytime you want to change a setting, it makes better use of its 4 buttons to cut this button mashing down. Its 1080p footage also looks surprisingly good. This is key because, just like the Dragon Touch Vision 4 Lite, the 4K mode's motion is super jerky. Akaso says the EK7000 records 4K at 25 FPS, but judging by what we see, it may be dropping frames or doubling up on them in the final file. For this price, we'd be pretty happy with the 1080 60p video the Akaso EK7000 spits out. Do we miss electronic image stabilization? Absolutely. A 60 FPS mode can make motion more fluid, but it won't get rid of bumps. Still, stick your clips in a piece of video editing software like iMovie, and it'll do the job better than most of these cheap action cameras in-body processing. What are the downsides? There's no option to change the field of view, so you're stuck with the native wide. We'd argue it's best to stick to a wide setting anyway, as cheap action cam hardware does not weather digital field of view cropping well, but the option would be nice. Number 1. Baas X450, the budget boss of 4K daylight image quality. If ready-to-roll 4K footage is the main thing you're after, then the Baas X450 is a great option. It shoots lovely 4K footage with its 14np sensor, even capturing slightly more detail than a GoPro Hero 9 Black at its wide setting in certain lighting conditions, based on a frame analysis at sunset. Of course, this isn't an entirely fair comparison, as GoPro Black cameras have much wider angle lenses than the Baas X450, but we remain impressed. The detail is similar to the 8-man A100, but the Baas has superior color processing, generally rendering warmer, more charming clips. Noise handling in low light is slightly better too, as you'd hope given its higher price tag. The X450 also has the best non-GoPro stabilization in this guide too. To get this effect, an action camera has to make good use of a gyroscope, which can tell when a natural handshake causes a little tilt motion. It can't offer anything close to the gimbal-like stabilization of an Insta360 or GoPro, but for a cheap action camera, we're impressed. There's no water resistance unless you use the diving case, and the ports are exposed just like those of a really budget action cam. The Baas X450 also doesn't have a mic input or a tripod thread on the cam itself. You do, however, get the necessary accessories in the box. The Baas X450 can't be used as a webcam either, which is a shame as it would do the job very well, as long as you used a different mic. There are dozens of ways to make the X450 better, but this is one of the best cheap action cameras for outright image quality and stabilization.